The Treasurer's decision, as I explained earlier, to stand in the way of another Chinese acquisition, the construction giant Probuild, has reignited tensions between ourselves and Beijing. It is a tough call. Australia does need to stand firm to protect our crucial assets, but at the same time would prefer to start mending the fractured relationship with China. Now, to discuss this and the furor engulfing the acting Prime Minister, Michael McCormack, too, over his statement that all lives matter, I'm joined now by Queensland National Party MP, Senator Matt Canavan. G'day there, Matt.
How you going, Chris? Good to be with you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. I'm doing very, very well. The Treasurer's objection to the Chinese purchase of Probuild, it's got Beijing in a tiz, which is not preferable. Where do you stand on that decision?
Well, I'll make 2 points about this. I don't know enough about the company, and obviously it wasn't a decision where the details were put before me. But I 100% back our right as a nation to decide what are the investments in our national interest. And I 100% back Josh Frydenberg having the right to say, look, this one's not in our national interest. I'll make the call. That's how it's always been, or been since the 1970s under our Foreign Acquisitions Act. And I back him to make the right call in these cases. The second point I'd make is, Chris, what if an Australian company went to China and wanted to buy a large construction company there? Do you think they'd make it past first base? I don't think so. So for the Chinese government to come out and say that this is discriminatory, it's hypocritical because they would not allow the same reciprocity if the roles were reversed. And it's again an instance where, unfortunately, China seems to expect at the moment that it can dictate the internal policies of another country. It cannot. We will decide what investments occur in this country and the circumstances in which they're made, just as China will decide what happens in their country. I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm not asking China to change its foreign investment regime. That's up to itself and its own country. So if there's going to be an ongoing productive relationship, there has to be mutual respect and understanding that both of our nations have the right to decide what investments occur in our own countries.
And you're right about the hypocrisy. Having worked in China, the closest an international company can get to owning and operating in that country is a 49% ownership of a joint venture. That is it. The rest goes to an ownership entity which is controlled by the Chinese. What about the fact that we've actually, obviously behind the scenes, we've made decisions about what's permissible and what's not permissible? Because up until now, I think the public's been wondering, where does this stop? Is this just open slather? So the bigger the chequebook, the more than they can grab. But I get the feeling there's been a set of rules carefully framed to avoid the Chinese getting close to any of our crucial assets.
Well, we have strengthened our foreign investment review regime while we have been in government. This is not the first decision we've taken to block an overseas investment or a China one. We blocked the sale of Kidman to a 100% Chinese entity a few years ago, as well with the New South Wales electricity infrastructure assets, Transgrid. And so this has been a consistent position from our government. This shouldn't be, and I don't think it is, a shock to the Chinese government or others. We have closed loopholes like existed with the Port of Darwin, where that did not get subjected to Josh Fry, or the Treasurer's. Josh wasn't the Treasurer at the time, but the Treasurer's oversight because it was a state government asset and it was leased. Well, that's been closed now. And we have developed new definitions for critical infrastructure where we take a closer look at investments in that space. Those things have been important changes. As I say, in each individual example, we're not going to release chapter and verse what's in our own national interest, but we defend the right to make those decisions consistent with what I think the Australian people expect.
Are you supportive of the acting Prime Minister, Michael McCormack, saying all lives matter? It's turned into a little bit of a beat-up at the moment.
Absolutely I am, and I supported him this morning in national media and had enormous support and calls right across the country to my office saying, look, he's just speaking for common sense. I mean, I think Michael McCormack, he's just acting as the Minister for Common Sense. And it's an unwritten rule in Australian politics. If you speak common sense, you get criticised by certain quarters. Not by the average Australian people, but you get criticised, especially by the self-appointed commentators and SARs in our media. Michael was absolutely right to call out the hypocrisy where everybody has condemned the scenes we saw at the US Capitol last week. They were disgraceful, they were shocking, and the law should be thrown at those that engaged in violent and trespassing behaviour last week. But there's been this double standard. It's as if you're on the left in the last year, the only standards you've really espoused are double standards. There's been this double standard where writing, if you've got the word Black Lives Matter in front of your name, that's okay. But writing, if you're carrying a Trump flag, that gets condemned. All political violence must be condemned because exactly all lives matter, and we don't want to see any lives lost. Around 20 lives at least have been lost in Black Lives Matter and Antifa rallies over the past year in the United States. And let's just hope to God, Chris, that this kind of political violence does not come to this nation. We're a bit close there with some of those massive rallies we had a few months ago, but we don't have a tradition of violent behaviour in our politics, and that's something we should definitely not import from the US.
Yeah, very true. Now, gas prices. You have been critical of the government's application to use gas in a far greater way for its baseload power. We've heard today that gas prices have soared. That doesn't augur well for being overly reliant on gas, does it?
Well, I've made the point over the past year that we should, in my view, choose energy sources which we have abundant access at low cost because that will generate the lowest energy costs to Australian consumers and businesses over the long term. Last year, gas prices were very low on world markets. Part of that was COVID. Part of it was the consequence of large amounts of gas being exported from the United States. But there was always a potential for this to happen, that there'd be a rebound, that it was not really sustainable for US exporters to be selling gas at the prices that were existing last year. So that's dried up. We've had a very cold winter in North Asia, and so that's caused increased demand. And so we've had massive spikes in gas prices. Now, I don't think we should be tying our energy competitiveness to a market we have no control over, that has had experienced enormous volatility in the past decade, and could potentially at any moment bankrupt a business that decides to invest in an energy-intensive business in this country if prices turn around. Whereas if we built a coal-fired power station, we got the coal, it's the world's best quality, you know the costs, like you know the costs at the mine site, like it might jump around a little bit, but you're controlling those costs at the mine site. You're not subject to world prices overseas, and you can guarantee a long-term certainty for those lower prices, which is going to attract investment. You can't do that with gas in this country because our gas production now is at the high end of the cost curve in the world. We just do not have abundant sources of low-cost gas, unfortunately, at least in Eastern Australia. So I don't think we should be tying ourselves to that resource if we're serious about strengthening a manufacturing industry.
We'll be talking about this again, no doubt. Let me guess, the Canavan family have abundant supplies of Coon cheese in their refrigerator. This woeful madness today about removing the name. Give me a break.
Yeah. Look, I'm just glad, Chris, that today's announcement has clearly ended racism forever. We don't have to worry about this issue anymore because Coon cheese is rebranded. So this great evil has been scrubbed from the earth, and we'll never have to worry about racist conduct again. It will all be fine. Actually, I think we're more of a Bega family, I think, is what we've got usually. And look, at least that's a name. Bega's a name which means something. It comes from a certain region, the south coast of New South Wales. That's great. I mean, I like names that mean something, that tie yourself to something. And I can understand why some people would find Coon cheese a little controversial, but it only takes 10 seconds to explain to someone the origin of that name, that it came from the inventor of the cheese. He was named Coon.
Call it Dr. Coon. Call it Dr. Coon, but certainly not cheese.
Yeah, maybe. It sounds to me this name has been invented by a committee, and that usually doesn't go well. I think it's going to go the way of Vegemite. Was it 2.0? They had Vegemite 2.0 there for a while. It didn't last long.
Now, the other thing I want to get to the bottom of, Matt, it's very important, very serious. The little animal sitting on your top shelf behind you, the orange animal with the fluffy nose, is that a giraffe or a dog, or what is it?
Oh, come on. I'm coming to you from Central Queensland. I'm in Yeppoon, but from Rocky, not far down the road, Rocky, the beef capital. That's a cow.
It's a cow?
So it's beef week this year in Rocky. I'll try and grab it for you, mate. I need to maybe make that a little bit more clear. But Beef Week 2021 this week in May. So pending border restrictions and COVID, make sure you get up here. It's a great week. Even if you're not in the beef industry, there's lots of great beef products at Beef Week. So there's always that.
But hang on,
it's going to be a
it's
different
not
event
a
this year.
cow, it's
Usually
actually a
attracts
bull.
people from all overseas.
It's actually a bull, isn't it?
Well, it could be a bull or a cow. I don't think it has anything underneath there, mates. But cows have horns too. They're generally trying to get rid of them these days. But it could be a bull, could be a cow, but it's definitely representative of a great industry in central Queensland. And as I say, it's going to be a great local event this time. We won't have those international visitors as normal, which is great. Always great to have those people, but it'll be a special event this year, just celebrating the local beef industry.
Good to fly the flag. Good plug. Thank you, Matt Canavan.
No worries, Chris. You have a good one.
All the very best. Thank you.